Hi, my name's Justin and this is the Root to Harvest YouTube channel. Today what we're going to do is we're going to talk to you about how to deal with the dreaded squash vine borer. If you have squash or zucchini plants, this is a tip you're going to need. What we're going to do to deal with them is there's actually two different methods that I've found to be effective. The first is to perform a minor surgery on your squash plant, and the second is to inject your plant with something called BT. Now, BT isn't as scary as it sounds. All it is a bacteria that causes the grub to stop eating. The grub stops eating and eventually it dies. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you catch your squash vine borers early enough so that they're not so big to block the water transport in your plant. This sounds very complicated, but it's not. It's super simple. We're going to show you how to mix up the BT product. We're going to show you how to inject the plant. I'm going to show you exactly what the squash grubs look like, so that way you know, oh, that's a squash vine borer, and they are nasty looking little devils. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take you through how to go about mixing up your BT. So I have this product here. It's just BT is what it's called. And all it is a naturally occurring bacteria. And what this bacteria does, when a caterpillar or a grub eats it, it causes the caterpillar or the grub to feel full. So they no longer eat it. So they stop eating and eventually they end up dying. And that's what we want to do to the squash vine borer. Now, in order to do this mixture, I just need a couple simple tools. So I have my BT mixture. I have just an old disposable cup. Right, so I'm not going to do this in anything that I really care about, so I'm not going to use any good kitchen stuff. I'm not going to use like really nice cups or something like that for my kitchen, just an old disposable cup and a measuring spoon. And so the product that I have, I'm going to use 4 teaspoons per 1 gallon of water. Now, I don't need a full gallon of this stuff, right? I only need about a cup, and that's at the most. So what I did is I did the conversion on my own, and it's going to take 3/4 of a teaspoon for this whole cup. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my BT product, I'm going to shake it up, and this stuff's totally safe. Obviously don't eat it, but it's totally safe. It's organic, it's natural. So I'm going to take it, and it's going to come out, and it's this really green, it's pretty smelly product. So I just fill it up to 3/4 of a teaspoon. Got a little bit of a spill. I'm just going to dump it in here. Try to be careful. You don't really want this stuff to spill around. I mean, I'm not doing so good of a job here, but okay. And then I'm going to just take my watering can here. Obviously, you could do this inside because you're not filming a YouTube video. And I'm just going to fill up this cup. And you're going to see it's going to turn this really greenish color. So it turns this really green color, and it's got definitely a smell to it. So it's definitely going to have a smell to it. So that's step 1. Step 2 is you just need some kind of a syringe. So you can use any syringe that you want. This is a small one. You can use a really big cooking syringe, like if you've seen those barbecuing shows, and the cooks have those really big syringes. You can use one of those. But a syringe is going to be your friend here. So if you don't have a syringe, this method isn't really going to work. And then the final thing that I'm going to have is I'm going to use this product here. So what this product does is it's like a stretchy, non-sticky fabric. So you can use twine if you want to, but I found that this works the best. And we're going to use this to tie the plant. I'm going to show you what I mean in a second when I take you over to the actual squash plant. I'm also going to show you what the squash vine borer grub looks like. Now, if you have little kids at home or you have little eyes watching, this is a little bit graphic. So these grubs are really, really gross looking. They're nasty. They are a white color with this black head, and they are my nemesis. So I get them every single year, and this is the method that I've found that works the best. So we're going to take you over now to the squash plant and show you exactly how we're going to inject the plants with our BT product and how we're going to tape up the plants. And I'm going to show you what these grubs look like. Okay, so we're looking at our squash plant here, and you can probably already see that we have this grub here. Looks just like a regular garden grub. And I'm going to pull him out so you guys can see if I can get him. So they're big. So this is a big grub here. Okay, so this is what they look like, just to show you. Okay, so all I did is I just sliced the plant open, and this is what I found inside, right? So this grub is big, so he's really big, and you have a couple options when you dig one out like this. So you can drown him if you want to. You can squeeze him and pop him. You can feed him to your spider if you have a spider around that you know is in your garden, or you can feed him to the birds. So I'll do a combination of those three things. For right now, I'm gonna just move him off to the side. I don't wanna, show on video me, getting rid of this grub. I'll probably just feed him to the birds today. And so the life cycle is kind of fascinating when we talk about the squash vine borer. So what it does is it's a flying insect. So that grub is really the first stage of the life cycle. So the flying insect lays larvae on your squash plant, and it's normally these red little eggs. Those eggs hatch, and the larvae burrow into the stem of the plant, and they eat all the way down the stem. So they'll eat this whole stem, and you can see this plant's really damaged, right? So it's pretty bad. In fact, I'll be surprised if this plant survives, but we're gonna do the best that we can here. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna take my syringe. So here's my syringe, and I'm just gonna fill it with my BT mixture. So I'm gonna take my BT mixture, and I'm gonna take my syringe, and I'm just gonna fill it up. So here we go, I have it filled here. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just take my syringe, and I'm just gonna inject it into the plant. Okay, now you're gonna see this stuff is gonna kind of spill around, and that's okay. And I'm gonna just make a couple holes here through the stem of the plant. Okay, and I'm just gonna inject this BT product into there. Okay, now one thing that's important, and a lot of other videos won't tell you this, is you really have to go up the stem as well, because the squash vine borers will get lost, so they'll go the wrong way as well. And sometimes you might find a spot where it's really hard to inject it, and so you just have to do your best here. Okay, so I'm going to keep injecting this plant all around with this BT product. So I keep doing it, right? You can do it from multiple angles. And you should start seeing it start to come out of different parts of the plant, anywhere where there's holes in the stem of the plant. And just be gentle, right? So just be gentle, just be calm with it. You're not in a rush. You're still out in the garden, and you're on your way to getting rid of these squash vine borers, right? And so this is great. So I just keep doing it, and I've probably done it now about 5 or 6 times, and that's probably good. So what I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna take this product here, and I'm just gonna use this to wrap the stem, right? So I wanna protect this stem as best I can, because what's happening here is the squash vine borers are actually stopping water from going up the stem. And that's why you'll notice that your leaves get droopy, especially when it's later in the day, because the plant can't pick up water fast enough. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna take my string here, and I'm gonna tie a little knot. Here. And I'm going to take out a whole bunch of this string, just so that I have enough. And I'm just going to wrap it around the plant here. So I'm just going to wrap it around to try and just get it nice and tight. See, just like that. I want it nice and tight on there, as tight as I can get it. And I'm just going to keep wrapping it. And now I'm going to pass it through this loop. just to try to kind of straighten it out. Okay. So here we go. Again, just trying to keep it nice and tight here. That's the name of the game, right? So we're going to wrap this whole stem. That's all we're going to do. Okay, now if you're doing this at home, you might get a little uncomfortable sitting here, because I know I am. It's kind of hard to sit for this long like this. But it's worth it if your squash, survive. So I'm just going to keep wrapping it around. And this is probably one of the worst jobs in the vegetable garden that I can think of. And I've had some comments online about the squash vine borer and what to do, and so we thought we would do this tutorial on it. And you can see my hands are pretty gross, and yeah, it's a tough job. So this is not easy. Of course, your other option is you just let the squash vine borer do its thing. You pull out your squash eventually. So this squash plant, before I did this treatment, probably had another, let's say, another week left. And then you just go right into your fall planting, which we're going to show you in this series. So we're going to show you the fall planting in this series, what we're planting and how we're doing it. And look, you can see it's kind of pulling some of this material out. And so this plant is pretty far along. Normally I would catch this a lot earlier. We thought for the purpose of the video series that we would show you the full-grown squash vine borer larva, so you could kind of see what it looks like and whatnot. But there's a good chance that you have these as well. A lot of gardeners don't know that they have them. So they just think like, oh, it's just a normal, the squash plants just die at a certain time of the year or whatever, but actually it's the squash vine borer. The other option you have is next year you could start your squash a little bit later. So I'm going to just pile up some soil here around the stem of the plant here. And overall, that looks pretty good. I think we'll see how this plant does. I have my doubts for this particular plant, but my other plants are going to do just fine. They're much less further along with the squash vine borer problem. So thanks for watching today's episode. Just to recap, what we did today is we took you through how to deal with the squash vine borer using BT. And the way that we did it in today's episode is we used the BT in a syringe, we injected it into our plant, and then we wrapped the stem of the plant just to protect it for the rest of the growing season. If you like what you see, please make sure to like, subscribe down below, and look out for next week's episode.